Dominic,
Markstrom.
I'm really excited, man.
I'm sure there's a bunch of reasons, but what's the main reason you're talking about?
It's back, man.
What's back, man?
Dark and Darker is back, man.
Dark and Darker?
Dark and Darker, dude. The greatest game ever made.
Wow, that's a big statement right there. So they're back because I heard they were dealing with some stuff.
Yeah, they're still dealing with some stuff, but now they decided that rather than try and fight Steam to take on the liability of hosting their game, that they were just going to build their own launcher and host it themselves. So they came out with their own launcher while they're in the midst of the legal battle. But also they collaborated with a new launcher or platform called Chaff Games. And through both of these methods, you can download and purchase the game for official early access release. As in, this is no longer a play test. This mug is live.
Dude,
I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. And I'm always a fan. We've talked about this before. I'm a fan of the do-it-yourself model. So, like, if you don't have, you're getting a little situated over there, a little sideways. Give me 1 second. I'll chop this out. Is that where you're going? Is that your home base?
Yeah, that's home base.
All right. We'll keep you there. All right, we'll take this out. I'll fix this post.
Mm-hmm. I just remembered you wanted me in the middle, so I just moved a little bit.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Get you there. Get you there. You're looking really good now. Okay, let me get you over here. Oh, you're beautiful. All right, so,
Thanks,
dude,
man.
I am a fan of the do-it-yourself model. They have their own launcher. You have to download it to play the game. Now, I think something you told me is like you have to build a new process that everyone's already on Steam. That's where everyone's going. And to have your own launcher, it's like it's a bit of a setback, but this just shows me that if the culture is big enough, if the fan base is big enough, you can do things like have your own launcher. You can do things like start your own thing. You don't need to rely on Steam. So I'd love to hear that.
It's almost like the product quality is really the only thing that matters. Could you imagine that? And that people will be willing to jump through hoops for something that they really enjoy.
Dude, I'd love to hear it. Well, so wait, have you been playing it?
Oh, I've been playing it. Well, in all fairness, first day, all we hear is games launching today.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for the notice. As a content creator, I'm going to be greedy about I want my notice so that I can prep because, it's a big deal. So definitely caught a lot of people off guard. Some people aren't going to be able to participate in the launch and stuff as a result because they got plans or they have things going on. And that's the way she goes sometimes. You know what I mean? You got to be able to quick pivot. So we definitely instantly want to incorporate it into our stream plans for the foreseeable future. It just happened to be on the exact same day that I teased a subathon that starts later this month that I'm really excited about. So there's certainly a little coincidence there. So that feels good to have possibly one of my favorite games I've ever streamed available during that time where I'll be streaming day in and day out 24/7 for 6-7 weeks possibly.
How you doing?
Time will tell. How you doing? So it is officially out. We waited on the first day for 11 hours hoping to be able to get in, but because the hype was so built up and the word had spread enough by the time that it was actually available for purchase and download, everything didn't work. You know what I mean? Like the payment processing just absolutely got hammered. Xsola did not run well at all. It was double, triple charging everybody and not giving them the product. It was an issue. All of those issues are already beginning to be resolved, and they will take care of everyone to make sure everything's good on that front. But later that night, finally, after I wrapped up stream, I was able to buy the game, install it, and I was ready to go the next day. So I got 1 day underneath my belt today. I did not broadcast. I don't do Wednesdays, but Tuesday was very fun as our first day in there. And yeah, man, I'm excited to get back into it tomorrow. It's going to be sick.
So for the minority of people who don't know what this game is, can you give us a quick rundown of what Dark and Darker is?
Yeah, I mean, Dark and Darker is a play on Dungeons and Dragons, right? Which is the quintessential cornerstone of RPGs or role playing games, originally a tabletop. Now this is turned video game. It's kind of cool because it's right off the back of Baldur's Gate 3, which just dropped, which is also basically video game Dungeons and Dragons, right? Where you have your class, your race, your stats, your gear, equipment, and you're playing through some sort of campaign, usually in some sort of party in some high fantasy world, right? And so Dark and Darker is essentially that with up to 3-man squads, but also set within a battle royale type setting slash instance based survival setting. So the way that they eliminate the field is through there's PvE, VP, right? So player versus environment and other players. So you have to fight against the AI, you have to fight people, and there's a circle that is getting smaller and smaller. So it's forcing you towards one another. The cool thing is there's blue portals at the end that start popping up as the match progresses, and you can take that portal out and extract your gear. Really sick. Okay, that's basically just Escape from Tarkov with the map getting smaller, right? Great, but they add upon it in a way that's really cool. There are red portals that you can take down another level, and they it is colloquially known as hell because it's everything is red and it's like fleshy and evil and things got horns down there and claws and it's rough. It is infinitely more difficult than the first, starting level.
Okay.
Like it ramps in difficulty pretty significantly, but with that comes much higher rewards. In Hell, there is also 2 bosses that you can face, either the Lich boss or the Ghost King. And both of them are really cool, like end game PvE rating mechanic fights that you have to know how to deal with and negotiate, which definitely requires a certain skill level and also gear level to be able to, take it on appropriately. So you can do this with any number of people. The problem is that if other teams or squads went to hell in the same match as you, you also have to fight them down there simultaneously fighting the boss. You can get countered while you're in the middle of taking on this really difficult PvE challenge.
If you make it to hell,
Yeah,
can you bring your teammates back if they didn't make it to hell?
no,
Oh my
no,
god!
it's all whittled down.
So you get to hell
You
as a
can
solo.
res in the game. That is
Okay.
a mechanic.
Okay.
On the first level, there are altars where you can take someone's soul and put it on the altar and res them and basically bring them back into the match. And then they have to go like pick up their gear and like re-equip.
Okay.
But I don't think so off the top. I can't think of any altars in the next level in hell. So I don't think that would be possible. Maybe Abe knows.
They missed the port. Yeah, if they miss the portal, they can't get down there regardless. So there's portals that periodically will appear that allow you to go down into hell.
Mhm.
If they don't catch one of those, they're not going. They can't
There you
make
go.
it.
Dang. The only way is through a portal.
I believe one of the classes, the cleric, has a resurrection ability as well.
Right.
I don't think there are shrines down there to resurrect people.
Wow.
Gotcha.
So it
There you have it.
gets even harder. I mean, yeah, there's bosses. It gets even harder in hell, obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, it's one of those feast or famine type games. Like the better you're doing, the better equipment you have, the easier the PvE becomes. But on top of that, you can challenge yourself and enter something called high roller dungeons, which is an even harder difficulty of everything that we just explained, where people have to actually pay to enter. But as a reward for you shelling out a part of your personal economy, all of the loot is better. All the loot's increased. So yeah, it's fun, man. You build up your inventory and your personal economy while you level up your character and unlock new skills. And then you play around basically with trying to figure out what builds are strong, right? So in true RPG mechanic sense, like, maybe you want to play a class that's a little bit different. In the last playtest that I participated in, we ran a wizard, but we played it a lot more like a rogue or a stabby murder hobo, if you will.
Yeah, I think I'd understand
which was
what that
its
is.
very commonly called in D&D groups. The concept is that instead of just like casting spells like a typical wizard, you would stack additional damage, weapon damage, and physical damage. And then you would use your spells to basically buff yourself and make yourself a better rogue. So you have spells to make yourself invisible. You can give yourself haste so you move faster and interact with things faster. So, and then you could also buff your own weapons. So you'd get like a really good dagger, and then you would buff it so it dealt even more damage with all the gear that already causes to do a ton of damage. Then you give yourself invisibility. Then you give yourself haste. And so the enemy teams can't see you. So you're running into their back line to like stab their wizards and rangers and all the like the really squishy people and kill them off out of nowhere before they have an opportunity to deal damage to your crew. That was the concept.
Is there a skill tree as well that you have to upgrade?
It's not so much a skill tree, but as you level every 5 levels, you gain access to one more slot up to level 15. So you start with 1, at 5 you get another, at 10 you get another, at 15 you get another. So you have 4 different things, and most of the classes have much more than just 4 skills. So you can play around with that and also tailor that to your build for whatever you're doing, right?
Okay.
I believe there's an actual skill tree being introduced as well. It's like a coming soon feature.
I see.
But it is not finished, it looks like, at this point. But
so
yeah, it's cool.
It's early access, so
so the game is back.
Yeah,
a game that Markstrom said was the best game ever.
The best game to come out in a very long time.
Okay,
with capitalizing on the unique concepts that have come from the gaming industry recently and doing so in a way that really benefits the consumer.
Okay. Here's an ADD question. What is your favorite game ever?
Zelda Ocarina of Time. Gun to my head, had to pick one. Boom.
All right. That's a solid choice. All right, back to Dark and Darker. It's back. What are you feeling about it? And also, what is the community feeling about it?
So I personally am a little overwhelmed because I want to play every class. I want to delve in. I want to play everything differently. I want to figure out new metas. I want to learn. I know how to do one boss fight really well, but another one I haven't done before. So I'd like to take that on. I want to unlock legendary weapons. Like there's a lot of things that I want to do, all the while providing good quality content on the daily for the people who tune in. But also I want to be able to make a bunch of informational content for people who are learning the game. It's like one of my favorite things to do with a brand new game that actually has a cool, interesting concept that I enjoy enough to really get deep into is to spread the knowledge. You know what I mean? Help people improve their game and talk about different strategies and theory craft ways to, perform well in game. I think that that's like some of the most fun that I've ever had in gaming. So I usually pursue that for projects like this.
Okay.
That being said, community sentiment, very hype. But now that everybody spent like the last, I don't know, year during like this period of like tenuous litigation that's occurring, like, will the game come out? Will it not come out? And everyone's spending time saying like, I would pay hundreds of dollars to play this. I would give a testicle to play this game. The problem is now that it's available, everybody is I've seen a lot of comments about people upset that the game costs money now, despite like the previous test being free to play.
Yeah, it was, right?
Right. Testing, free to play.
All right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Game costs, they have to put in some sort of cost for a game like this for a couple of reasons. One is I obviously want to see the developer get compensated, right?
Sure.
Of course, not to mention like one that is like doing what they can for the gaming community to bring value. The other is obviously they're going through all the litigation. I want to be able to feel like, they're not going to get sunk by this litigation while trying to create some free-to-play product. That would feel bad, right? The last thing is that you need some sort of barrier of entry for games like this that are multiplayer for the sake of disallowing or dissuading people from cheating regularly.
Okay.
Because, especially now that it's not on Steam, so they don't have the luxury of implementing some sort of trusted queue, which I was a big proponent for the Cycle Frontier and actually solved their cheating problem. They don't have that. There is no with their own launcher, they don't have that luxury of saying, okay, this person had to have a Steam account for this amount of time. They had to spend this amount of money on their Steam account. It has an age. It doesn't have, cheating infractions from other games on file. We're going to call this a trusted account, and they're going to get put into a trusted queue for the game, right? They're going to play with other trusted players, right? And then when that trusted player does get pinged for cheating, not only are they banned from the game, but now if they make a new Steam account, they can't just dive right back into the same queue because now they don't have a trusted Steam account. They've lost it, right? So this was incredibly effective for games in the genre, in instance-based survival shooters like the Cycle Frontier. Because they're on their own launcher due to the litigation, they don't have that option. And so they have to dissuade cheaters in one way or another. Obviously, they're going to run an anti-cheat. Obviously, they're going to do their best to remove cheaters as they come, and they absolutely will, like they do in every multiplayer experience in the last, 15 years. Very common, especially in any game that has high stakes, right? That's just human nature. People are going to find the path of least resistance, and some people are just absolute scumbags, and they're going to cheat. And that is what it is. But at the very least, they will have to pay $35 every time that they want to do it.
Okay.
So a free-to-play experience that's just solely based on microtransactions wouldn't serve that same purpose here.
I don't know the ins and outs of the lawsuit, but from this move, I would think that the people behind Dark and Darker are extremely confident they'll win because they not only are they re-releasing it with the same name and it's the same game during their legal process, they're also getting funds from that product directly. So if they lose this lawsuit, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to pay all those funds that they recoup. That I think whoever's battling them is going to recoup those funds.
Yeah.
And then I would have said re-release it for free. That way there's no money coming in yet until it's handled. But I don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah, I think it's pretty convoluted. It doesn't help that the entire legal battle is happening in Korea, right? So tons and tons of documents are having to get translated the entire time. It's going to drag out the process pretty significantly.
Yeah.
The grand irony of this lawsuit, and I don't know if you know this, is the current CEO of Nexon, which is the massive gigacorp over there that is suing them.
Yeah.
The only reason they knew that they had a case here is because he specifically went to prison for 2 years in Korea for doing the same thing himself. And this dude is just straight up passing the buck, which is crazy because he recognizes he went through the process and he knows what would be required to create a case. And definitely things were mishandled by Iron Mace. And I think that they would even be willing to self-admit that if it wasn't for this legal battle and that causing an issue. They definitely scuffed the situation by utilizing servers that were owned and ran by Nexon at the time, right?
Yeah. They built it on
files and work off of from a home type thing, despite this project being canceled and basically removed from which was formerly known as P3 under Nexon. Yeah, they definitely scuffed the situation. It is what it is, and they will probably have to pay some sort of price as a result. I mean, obviously, this is part of it, right? Just even dragging out their own development process.
Yeah.
But on top of that, I think Nexon probably does get a piece of this.
I would say, yeah.
But I don't think it's going to kill the project, right? I mean, very clearly, that doesn't seem to be the case.
No, I think it's, I don't know if it's stronger right now, but I think I see it all over the place. I think the hype is still there.
Oh, it's massive. And it's obviously this entire case has been a ton of publicity for the game as well, on top of the 120,000 concurrent people that it had before the case existed, which is the main reason Nexon was oh, we should probably try and get some money from this.
Ain't that funny how that works?
How they didn't give a shit for a full year until that happened.
That's how it works, crazy. Dude.
That is how it works.
People don't get it until you prove it to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about money. Is there any microtransactions in this game?
Yeah, so there's microtransactions. They are cosmetic in nature.
Okay.
There are skins that will change like the race, which is like a pretty fundamental part of Dungeons and Dragons to begin with, right? Different races have different stat attributes.
Okay.
And so it's not 100% the same across the board. If you run a skeleton, for example, you'll get +1 attribute of this and -1 attribute of that. Now, in the
Okay.
grand scheme of things, those attribute points, 1 for each, is completely negligible as soon as you start getting any meaningful amount of gear. But at the beginning, they're okay. It's something.
It's something as in it boosts your skill
It could
or like
potentially
attributes?
change like less than 5% of your interactions, I would say. Is fair to say.
Okay. All right.
So I do see complaints about that. But I also think that it's such a small percent of it having an effect on the outcome of a fight. And at the same time, it's such a quintessential part of Dungeons and Dragons to have the race change stats that like it makes perfect sense to me. But this is like far from the be all end all of microtransactions in the game. There are different emotes that you can do, right? Whether it's like a thumbs up, thumbs down,
Yeah.
a dancing emote, all those fun things that you can use to like basically taunt your enemies or just goof around with your friends. There's different emotes that you can do in like the lobby menu when
Okay.
you're all sitting at the table. One is like you take like a fork and a knife and you start banging on the table, which I find hilarious because it's basically telling your friends like, "Hey, like click ready." Like the dude that's always just sitting in the inventory, like changing gear, trying to buy something extra before the next match, and you're waiting like 20 minutes, like you just keep banging the table, like,
Yeah.
let's go,
He's
dude.
hungry. I'm hungry. Get me in
I'm
there.
hungry. Man's got to eat.
Yeah, man's got to eat.
Man's got to eat. So I think that stuff like that's really clever, and it definitely enhances the overall like camaraderie experience of the game.
So
There's like
did you say
different
you
colored
could
torches.
buy more? That's one thing you can buy more emotes.
Yeah, so you can
Okay.
buy emotes.
Cool.
You can buy a different animation while sitting at a campfire. Like they're things that don't impact the game. The only thing that has like a potential impact is that stat swap,
Okay.
which is very small. Would I call that pay to win? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The reality is that there's so much insane outplay in this game that can be done. The game is incredibly skill based. I'm a firm believer in that. You can have the greatest bow of all time, but if someone has good movement and you suck at shooting, it's not going to matter. You're
Bro,
still going to die.
It's all
Gotta hit your
about
shots.
It's all about movement too.
The movement is
Dude.
crazy in the game. And the game is like the way that it plays is very janky. And I think some people, when they look at it like that, they think like, oh, I don't want to play this janky piece of shit game. But the reality is that it adds so much to the experience. Like once you get in there and you feel it and you're like, oh, this is crazy responsive and I'm going to get punished for the exact inputs that I put in.
Yep.
It's wild. And it's obviously not janky in a way that's not consistent because really consistency is all that matters in something like this, right? Like you just want to know that when you put something in as an input, that the right outcome is going to occur.
Yes.
And if you can read the other player and figure out what they're going to do, and then you put in the input that's going to counter them, and you come out on top, and that's a consistent thing in the game, that game's going to feel amazing, right? And that's the thing that I think is specifically lacking from so many instance-based survival games, especially something like Escape from Tarkov, where there are so many random roll of the dice things that happen every single bullet. Does it ricochet? Does it penetrate? Does it deal this damage? You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here? I shot this guy in the face like 4 times.
Yep.
Why is he not dead? So you have that, plus you have bad net code, plus,
Yep.
like all the things that are wrong with Tarkov in general.
The guy was around
just not for them to catch a stray bullet here, no pun intended, but it wouldn't kill him because the game doesn't work. So.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I've seen it in just a slight off topic. I've seen you shoot guys that come around a corner in Tarkov and you die. And I'm guessing on the other side of the screen, they
What
came
happens
out
to them?
Yeah, they came out way before or something
Yeah.
and shot you, and then on your screen they didn't even come out yet.
Well, that's one of those things that I think Dark and Dark doesn't get enough credit for. Is like the netcode feels great, man. Like you hit somebody, they're going down. Like you feel them taking damage, and when you're taking damage, it feels bad. Like it's just it's very visceral. It's very responsive, and it is like it's a very sandboxy environment where you have a lot of choices, and you get to change the way you play based on how you're feeling. So as a result of all of these things, it's fun to lose in Dark and Darker because it's not about winning. And that's the very first BR I've ever felt that way about. And I played a lot of BRs from the very beginning, from Arma 3 to King of the Kill
H1
to PUBG. Now all the new ones that I don't really dip my toes into a lot, like Apex and Warzone. But like, I'm only happy in those games when I'm winning. I don't have to win in Dark and Darker to have a blast. And that's something special. And that's why I like Talk It Up so much. So if you're looking at the game, you're thinking this game looks janky, I don't know if it's for me, slide in there with a couple of friends and crack open a couple of hashtag sponsored hashtag ad Voodoo Rangers. You know what I'm saying?
Wait a minute. That's
Yeah,
your sponsor,
that's
bro.
a personal sponsorship. I can't talk them up without throwing. I know it's not a sponsor of the podcast, but you know, I'm just trying not to get sued.
I'm not mad about it. I'm not gonna lie.
They are crispy. They're good beers.
They're good beers.
God
You heard
damn
it
it.
here first.
God
And that
damn
guy
it,
doesn't
Abe.
get paid by them.
So there, I'm sure it is also nice to win, though. By the way, let me jump back to the pay to win thing.
Sure.
So most of their microtransactions are cosmetics, but there's something that changes your interaction. It might be less than 5% of your interactions.
Sure.
But that's not pay to win. What is pay to win to you? Is there a certain percentage? Is it have to, like, you explain it to me?
I think that like paying for very palpable, tangible advantages obviously is not good business in the gaming world. If you want people to feel like they have an equal opportunity to participate. And there are games that people didn't necessarily, they weren't super critical of that had microtransactions that I was very critical of. And the first one that comes to mind is the Cycle Frontier. They had something called salvage tokens where you could put a piece of, you could basically, I don't even know if it necessarily had to be a salvage token, and maybe those were the free ones, but you could pay, at the end of the day, you could pay real life money to insure your gear.
Okay.
And the results of you insuring your gear were twofold. Either if you died and nobody extracted your gear out of the match, so let's say like you died in a weird spot and they didn't loot you, or they didn't get the opportunity because your teammates fought them off, or they looted you and then they died to someone else and that person didn't get looted, or they died to PvE, right? You would get your gear back. And even if somebody did extract your gear and you got your gear back, and you didn't get your gear back, you would be compensated a huge chunk of credits. And so if you just wanted to eternally be rich in the game and have a full inventory at all times of all the best loot, all you had to do was swipe your credit card over and over again. And I had people fight me like tooth and nail to the death about whether or not it was pay to win. It's like, that's the most blatant example I've ever seen, man.
Okay.
And I couldn't. So like that to me is just over the top explicit pay to win. I really think that like +1 stat, -1 stat is as cool for the min maxers out there, but its actual impact on gameplay is negligible. So,
Okay. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Now, I would have to, for something like that, I'd have to hear a bigger argument. And I'm not nearly as deep in the gaming space as you are. I'm in the media space. I'd like to hear more about that in another episode, because if we don't have to get into it. However, it's an interesting topic. I'd like to hear more about the argument, but I might be on the other side for that one. I don't know. For me,
Okay.
pay to win. If I buy a gun that kills a guy in one shot, as opposed to everyone else's gun that kills a guy in 10 shots, that's pay to win. Now,
sure.
if I buy that thing that you just talked about,
Right.
I'm still gonna die every time because I don't put time in on the game, but I just want my stuff to stay in my inventory, dude. I'm gonna die every time. I don't play a lot of games. Let me buy something that just allows me to jump in every time I want to jump in, you know? You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Okay.
And I think that is often like the mindset of a more casual gamer who doesn't get to spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
The reality is you will end up appreciating by doing that, you end up devaluing any possible success you'll ever have in the match because it doesn't matter.
Okay. I
the
understand that concept.
It's like the person who plays The Sims and then hits the rosebud and just has infinite money from the very rip. It's like a little cheat code that's built into the game.
Yeah.
And you just have infinite money from the rip, and you're like, okay, well, I made my house. Now what? Like the whole game is literally ruined, right? Like the personal victories and the personal losses are what make the game special. It's your investment in it. And so if you don't have the process of like building up your economy or having a bad day and losing your economy, and which allows like the victories to be even sweeter, as you know, like it really does undermine the entire experience. And it's like, okay, well, now I just wasted my money on this game. I'm completely disenfranchised at this point.
I understand that concept, which is basically life.
Yes,
that's why video games are awesome. For me, it would be like my buddies play these games all the time. I don't.
Yeah.
I play a game maybe once a month. Now they're playing this game tonight, and if I don't show up geared out to the gills, I'm not going to be able to enjoy it with them.
Here's the reality.
Okay.
If they don't kit you out knowing you're going to lose that gear, they're not good buddies.
That's a good point.
That's a fact.
All right, I'm going to keep that in mind.
I give you the juice, and you know it.
You have given me the juice.
There are multiple times during some cycle gameplay that you slid in there. I was like, well, why don't you just take this little guy, see what you can do with this?
And lost it.
That didn't matter. Didn't catch any shit from me. So
I appreciate that. Okay.
Mark's talked about it before, but every group needs a slum anyway, right? I mean,
true.
He's the glue guy. You
He's
need
the
guy who's not good.
I appreciate
that. Way the good guys can blame him when they're not doing good.
Every team needs an anchor. Got to hold it down, baby.
That's fucked up. I'm all right. I'll lean into it. I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
All right.
All right. So it's not pay to win. Agreed. That's not pay to win in Dark and Darker. So whoever's complaining about it, I guess take it up with Markstrom and he'll prove you wrong.
I'd be happy to discuss it any day. Twitch.tv/Markstrom. Come through, see how that goes for you.
So next thing.
Yeah.
There's something creative here. We talked about pay to win. What about pay to skin? So
all right.
Is Twitch doubling down on the gambling ban? I see here Twitch is attacking CSGO gambling and skin trading sites.
Yeah, I think like you have to understand that one of the reasons that Steam doesn't have to take the risk of hosting a game like Dark and Darker is because they're making money hand over fist through the Steam marketplace. And so every game that has skins in it that can be tradable, they're taking a piece of that action every trade.
So it's going through every process, every payment process also goes through Steam.
That is correct. So every single game, they take 30% of.
Steam takes 30% of every game?
That is correct.
Oh my God, that is a freaking racket, dude. Steam is crushing the game, dude. Holy shit.
That's why it was a big deal when Epic Games came out and started having their own, which is a great value, by the way. And I think a lot of people like didn't want to support it or they weren't down for it because A, it was different. It was change. It was a secondary platform, something else to boot. It was also by the people who make Fortnite, which is a kid's game, KEKW, right? Like people had this mentality, but in reality, they give the platform, or they give the the dev teams a lot better of a deal. I think it's 10% on Epic.
Okay.
But then on top of that, they provide free games. Like every month, there's like tons of dope titles that are free. And if you just get on Epic Games Launcher during that time and you click download, you own it forever in your library. Like that's your game now. You paid for it for free,
Bro.
which is awesome. And so like it's a very smart strategy because obviously it doesn't cost them anything to present keys, right? But it enhances and bolsters people's habits, right? Which is what we talk about all the time. This is now it's within my habit to check what's free on Epic. I have time to play some new games. What's free?
Yes.
Now this is my launcher.
I do like
because
that
I built
model.
up this inventory.
Yes.
Very smart.
That's very. Here's where man, I'm kind of stuck right now in the brain.
Okay.
30%,
bro.
Is that accurate?
I mean, we can have Abe triple check.
Would you mind looking that up? Because here's what I'm thinking. These gaming developers. That's probably the only.
What percent does Steam take from sales?
So that's probably the only revenue they have coming in, right? Thank you, baby.
Steam?
No, not Steam. I'm sure Steam is savvy with a bunch of stuff. These gaming developers.
Sure. I mean, they can also have micros within their game and stuff.
But
I'm sure Steam is taking a percentage of that too.
Correct. So, all right. Abe brought it up. We see here down at the bottom screen, 30%. Steam takes 30% cut. Although some developers may have negotiated a smaller cut, I'd negotiate a smaller cut. For example,
for exclusivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
to run it only on Steam, which is smart.
number is probably standard for indie. Okay. Yeah. So if you're no name, you're getting shafted. Here's what I'm thinking.
Welcome to life.
If you're a game developing company and your only revenue is coming in when you sell those things, and you're selling it through Steam, guys, 30% of all revenue. That is a founder's cut, dude. 30%. How many founders are in that development company? And there's basically someone that's taking 30%.
Yep.
When all they're doing,
like the concept or the argument on the other side of the coin is, without Steam, these indie devs would have no distribution whatsoever. How they'd each have to figure out their own marketing, their own distribution. Steam has built-in processes to show like what's new, what's hot, what are people buying, what are your friends checking out right now. You can add new things that are coming up on your wish list. Like they do a good job of presenting, like any meaningful project gets its time.
Meaningful. Okay, so that's a word.
There's a lot of games that there's hundreds of games that go live on Steam every day, Slum.
That's what I'm saying. So are they, for those people, what do they get? Marketing? Are they getting any marketing or no?
I think it's one of those things where like you get what you put into it. A lot of those, like the vast majority, are goofy cash grab.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they're not real projects. But they're people who and then on top of that, you have the whole like not safe for work category there. A lot of people making like those kinds of games that be, it's an interesting thing for sure.
I hear you. And going where the audience, providing that audience and the ease of use, and that's the
user base
thing.
Is just insane, and they are the go-to.
Ease of use is key there too. I mean, even their whole like joining friends in games, matchmaking gets built off of it. Unparalleled as far as I'm concerned. Anytime the game doesn't use their ability to join friends, increasingly less pleasurable of an experience to play with your friends if they're not using Steam.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah, they provide a bunch of tooling for stuff like that, for partying and joining on a game, and they have their own voice thing that you can use through Steam, so you don't even have to use Discord. Like, yeah, I mean it's robust. There's no doubt.
All right.
Which a lot of these games take advantage of, and they should, because it's proven methods. And on top of that, you have the added bonus, like I said earlier, Steam trusted queues. You can work with the Steam team to say, hey, like I want to utilize the breadth of this platform to disincentivize cheating in my game. Okay, well, we'll work with you on that, which is big.
All right. I
hear you. 30%. I get it.
I think you may have won me over. I would just like to say for the developers listening, negotiate. All right, that's it. If you have a meaningful project, negotiate. There's always room for negotiation. Even if they say, I can't do it, gotta be 30%, negotiate. Yeah. All right, put it on the table. Show them what you're working with. Give it like 20%, 30%. They do a lot though. Markstrom and
do a lot.
You're correct. I like that.
On top of that, there's the Steam marketplace, and so any game that has skins that they want to make actual individual items can be traded back and forth and sold to one another through a marketplace, which they take a percentage of every sale. So let's say I want to sell a skin. Let's say I have a $10 Counter-Strike skin.
Yes.
And I want to like undercut the market right now by like $1 or even just a couple of cents, right? I undercut it by a couple of cents. Let's say I put it up for like $9.50, right? And what they are gonna pay is $9.50. What I'm going to receive is more like, I don't know off the top what the percentage is, but let's call it like $8.75.
All right.
Every single time that it gets sold, though, there's a skim, and it can be sold a bunch of times back and forth, and the market continues to fluctuate.
CS:GO only gets that money once, though, right? CS:GO sells it once.
So it's weird because Valve owns and runs both.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But that you have to understand that Counter-Strike and Dota, and those are like cornerstone Valve games. And it's their popularity that built Steam because they had multiple games. You know how like if you want to play Blizzard games, you have to have Battle.net, which is for Overwatch, World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, StarCraft. Like they just continued to build on their version of that, and it made it Steam. You had to have Steam to launch Half-Life mods at a certain point. Like I remember when Steam came out, it didn't look like what it looks like right now. We actually just watched a video and stream the other day, and man, it was a blast from the past. Nice little bit of nostalgia to look at like the old Steam UI UX. It was cool.
Love that. I love doing that with just businesses in general, looking at their visual identity from when they
brought me back, bro.
Dude, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
It was cool. So, the skin game is interesting. There is all of this, like, there's loot boxes, right?
Okay.
Which actually the founder of Dark and Darker, Terry, for other companies, he was one of the first innovators of the loot box in Korea. And he feels terrible about it. And on their website for Iron Mace, they actually discuss the fact, like, I have committed an atrocity. It has evolved into something I didn't foresee that has been a plague on the gaming industry for many years now. And I want Dark and Darker to be my love letter and apology to the gaming community for like basically opening Pandora's box. No pun intended.
Just about to say Pandora's loot box.
Yeah, Pandora's loot box for sure. Like, yeah, it's interesting. So funny connection there. But obviously Valve has continued to roll with the loot box mentality. And so when you get skins in CS for just playing matches, they're crap skins.
Yeah.
But you get them.
Yeah.
You also get cases. You can take a case and you can sell it right away on the marketplace.
Without opening it.
Without opening. New cases come in and you can just slang it for like a few bucks.
I like
sometimes.
a few.
The new cases go hot.
Oh,
so
hey, it's not open. You don't know what could be in there. $100.
No idea.
$100.
More like $250.
Nah, dude, you don't know. I could have a katana in there.
Some of them do go for $100.
The cases?
Yeah.
So how do you?
Cases.
I'm just curious. Why do
depends on what comes out of them? So there's like a set. You know what could come out of it.
Correct.
Like so, there's different.
Like in Rocket
drops,
League,
right?
When there's different color orbs, you know it's a legendary orb or
correct.
Oh, okay.
So it works in the same like RPG sense where it's like there's blue.
Okay.
And then there's like gray. And then there's white. And then there's blue and purple. And then red. And then gold.
Oh.
And gold is like a knife or gloves.
I'd be slanging the gold ones all day, dude.
But you don't know so you don't see it on the crate. The crate has a set list. The crate is unidentified. And so the crate has a set list of multiple things in each of those categories that could drop from the crate.
Okay.
Like say you want like a M4 Hyper Beast.
Okay.
That's like it's like this blue and red skin. It's really cool, graffiti style, really sick.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's a play on Hype Beast, right? It's a cool concept for a skin. It only drops from one case, like one type of case. It's not this, but call it a Bravo case.
Okay.
Right. And you can, so if you want to potentially unbox that, you go and you buy a Bravo case from somebody. Right.
So I thought you said there's no way to know the box.
This is one of 2 red drops that can occur in that box.
Okay.
There's also blue drops that are in that box and purple drop. Right.
But we know it's a Bravo case.
Yeah.
So
you know the set skins that can be in there for different rarities.
Okay.
Okay.
So the cases that are selling for $200, if you look at the list item, you see the ticket items, which is why it's selling.
One of the ticket items sells for an insane amount.
Yes.
And some of the ticket items sell for nothing.
Okay. Yes.
And
I understand.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like sometimes it's better to just sell the crate. You know what I mean?
Slanging them.
Yeah,
all day.
It's very interesting. And some people bought a ton in advance of CS2 because they know things are just appreciating tons. So people have made tons of money just pre-buying for CS2.
How many did you buy?
None. Listen, man.
Sleeping.
Not everyone has disposable income to just throw at a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, it is your job, though.
Well, some people, we're just going to have to work on the number of Twitch primes. All right?
Let's go. All right, what do we
prime out there, listener? Let me gamble with your money. Isn't that a good selling point?
All right, get there.
For donations. There it is. Look at the plug right on Slum's chest.
Go give him a sub.
Wearing his Markstrom merch.
Go give him a sub, and you'll see a notification that I created. Maybe. I don't know if it pops up for that. What do we got here, Abe? What are you showing us about the CSGO skins? What do we got here?
Some of these are so ridiculously expensive that, like you alluded to, you said $100. You weren't joking. If you get one of the knife skins in particular, or one of the more sought after skins, these things sell for over $100.
Oh, no, my friend.
On average, I'm sorry, the average price of a knife skin, that's what I pulled up here, is $100 to $200. That is the average price.
Okay.
So there's skins that are literally have transactions of over $100,000 right now.
Is it the Emerald?
That's some of them. Yeah.
See, dude, I freaking game, bro.
Look at you.
I know this stuff, dude.
Got the Emerald. You got the Ruby. You got the Sapphires. Oh man.
Man.
It has been an interesting social experiment for me just to see how people treat these things, like different friends within the friend group. Like, how do they react to the gambling? Someone opens up something really good. Everyone's like, oh, I could probably buy 10 cases, see what I get, and it's a slippery slope, man.
Oh, for sure.
So obviously, like, this is something that is discussed heavily, and like, how do you deal with that being like the youth being exposed to this and basically getting hooked on gambling from a young age not really being able to control those habits or drives, and just not quite mature enough to handle stuff like that. But again, it's the age old question, like, what is it Valve's responsibility? Is it the parents' responsibility? It's hard.
That is an age old debate.
It's an age old debate. So I think like
you got
I just think like it's one of those things where it is entirely frivolous.
Okay.
Skins are cool.
Okay.
They don't do anything other than look cool in game. And it's very much so like designer culture. It's basically that within a video game.
Yeah.
Because you only buy it because people know what certain things are worth.
Because it says Gucci on it.
Exactly. It's like a Gucci belt, but
Gucci
in-game.
belt, my man.
$200K for that Gucci knife.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Wait, is there a Gucci knife?
There's not a Gucci knife.
I
No, they
don't
don't
know,
collab
dude.
with anything like that.
Well,
but,
Tarkov ripped off every single game or gun developer, so I don't know. I figured, who knows?
yeah,
All right. Well, so
that's one
just
of the joys of living somewhere where you're not going to get prosecuted for it
that's
for
so
developing in
crazy.
another country.
That is so crazy.
What's Glock gonna do?
Um, just to on my end, just to tie a bow around the gambling thing.
Mm.
I always lean towards personal responsibility.
Yeah.
But there's a certain age where that's not developed yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't like that kids are basically gambling, but how do they get this money?
Right.
Is it on the parent's credit card? The parent should definitely be on top of that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now,
And I think like if the kid is savvy and the kid is like basically selling the crates he gets and then opening and then trading up and
playing with
like,
house
if
money.
he's playing, if he's just playing the game and has built up a personal little economy and that helps bankroll his Steam purchases, I think that's only like a cool thing for the kid, the kid's like friend group, right?
I think that's being a hustler right there. I'm down with
That's
that.
what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, I think there's like there is some value to be had in that regard, right? Is
Yes.
like managing that
Yes.
and knowing when to like, take your money and run. And it's definitely I mean, at the end of the day, like even though I sit here and I say like it's obviously very frivolous and that I don't really, I mean, I don't choose to use any disposable income like that. I still really like and appreciate cool skins because I think like they are art at the end of the day, and the artists that make them are incredibly talented, and some of them look super sick, and they're all gonna look even more sick in CS2 because the graphics are just phenomenal, and the way that like the skins get treated with that is really cool. So I'm excited, man. CS2 is gonna be another big one, man. Listen, man. Games are coming around.
That's good.
'Tis the season.
That's good.
Yeah,
We should develop our own, huh?
one day.
All right.
One day.
All right. So we covered the gambling, the money stuff, and I actually agree on you or with you with the cool skins and its art. And I have a couple of those things in real life that it's just like I like this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you're responsible about it, it's okay. When you blow your savings on it and you can't eat or provide for your family, that might be a problem. Might be a gambler. Anyway, I'd like to talk about something kind of freaking crazy. If you're down
What you
with
got?
it. Well, actually, I'd like to have Abe bring this one through, and then I'll jump on. So, Abe, take us away with LK99.
All right. So we had a bit of news for a really breakthrough discovery with a compound that is known as LK99. Staying on the Korean theme, actually, this was discovered in Korea. But essentially, this is a compound that I believe is a combination of copper and lead. I am not a scientist, so do not quote me on any of this.
That's okay.
But what they found, or at least what the reports are with this discovery, is that this compound can superconduct at room temperature. So superconductivity, once again, my uneducated synopsis of this, essentially it's a physical property, and it essentially refers to the fact that electrical current can pass through this compound with zero resistance. So anytime you're flowing energy through something, or flowing power through something, some of that power is lost as a result of this whatever material you're using.
A lot.
Superconductive
a lot
material.
is
A lot
lost,
of
actually.
it. I mean, a lot of it. With a superconductive material, that does not happen.
Yeah.
You're able to pass through 100% of the energy. So this could really lead to a lot of scientific discovery and scientific breakthrough. So I thought it would be cool to kind of discuss that and get everybody's thoughts about what this could mean, what it does, and the impact kind of on humanity.
So let me jump in. So the superconductor, as Abe said, it's a material, and it conducts electricity without any resistance below a certain temperature. That is the biggest thing about this breakthrough. So superconductors right
typically
now,
absolute zero to give you.
Not,
I mean, that's typically what it is.
Oh yes, typically it's very low temperatures. You have to keep this material super low, and you're also having a lot of energy loss and resistance and all that. If you can keep a superconductor at room temperature with no energy loss, and that keeps the temperatures down, and that's not overheating things, you can put whatever you're using that material on, it can bring the footprint down so much, because just like in our computers, we have to have a cooler. And that cooler in my rig is pretty big, and it might be small nowadays. But so that's like everything on our electrical grid. There's a whole big mechanism attached to everything to try to keep something very cool. Imagine if you're building something and you didn't have to think about overheating. How much smaller, more compact, and in different places could you put these things? So just right off the rip, if you think about all our energy grid, I think about what it could look like with this room temperature superconductor if they don't have to worry about overheating. A bunch of stuff could be underground, dude. Like all the wires and stuff could be smaller and could be easier to access, and you don't have to like go up skyscraper high type. You don't have to do all the crazy stuff to access these things, this material. It could be buried underground. It could be, you don't have to have a whole component on the side of it to keep it cool. It's just insane. So power supply efficiency, it's used in cooling systems. It can increase the graphics card in our computer. It could make that work even faster and not overheat. There's so many things that a superconductor at room temperature can do for us moving forward. Just a couple things about how it can actually help us. It could do energy saving, powerful magnets. So if you've ever heard of the mag train, I think there's actually a bullet train that's a mag train, and
Japan
I don't know where.
and China both have levitating mag trains. Yep.
So electric devices, which is basically everything we use day to day. Dude, if it's real, it's like we could literally be living in Star Trek in 4 years.
Well, and you mentioned power, in particular, like power savings, and shout out to my brother because he helped me do the math on this because he's the actual scientist. But taking some of the data, so it was reported from 2013 to 2019 that the U.S. has about a 5% power loss on transmission and distribution of the energy that we're generating. I believe last year the U.S. generated about 4.2 trillion kilowatt hours of power. Right, the average cost of power is roughly 23 cents a kilowatt hour. Right, that means that if we can reduce that power loss from 5% to 0% in just cost savings alone on that, the U.S. is saving $975.89 billion with a B dollars.
What about factoring in not the power loss, but the power that you have to use to run the cooling systems?
Absolutely.
Take that off the top too.
We're talking trillions of dollars in savings.
Crazy, dude. And yeah, saving money is freaking wonderful. But I'm interested in seeing the design changes of these things. How much more compact are things going to get when you don't have to worry about these big cooling systems? And the superconductors are very compact materials as well. So how much smaller are things going to get when you don't have to worry about keeping it super cool? And what is that going to enable us to do?
I think the scale is a really interesting part of this, is like, because it will impact things that are massive and also things that are already small and our handheld day to days, even our phones, anything that runs off of a battery, right? Like that's going to change everything. All these things need to be cooled. I mean, we've all seen the Samsung Galaxies explode on videotape. Like,
Oh,
you know,
man.
it will be very interesting. I do think this propels technology in an interesting way. And it's interestingly a large breaking story when my dad's coming into chat just literally yesterday. Like, have you guys heard about this OK99? So like it's making its rounds. And you did point out one of the more interesting aspects of this. Is it real? Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it definitely bodes well that there was some divisiveness in the scientific research group that went about this because only 3 people can apply for the Nobel Prize for this. And so there were 4 people on the project, and 1 person got cut out. And then they had to go and basically resubmit with like another group to try it like only hours later because they realized like what had happened. So people are basically like fighting and struggling for credit on this, which I think really does, bode well for its legitimacy moving forward.
Oh, okay.
Time will tell what
Okay.
ends up happening on that front. But yeah, I mean, it could be very legit, and like I said, I think it could definitely propel just tech in general
Yeah.
quite a ways. So
I think when so like Abe brought up a bunch of numbers and stuff, and a lot of people have numbers with climate change and just big ticket issues about the world and our country. Um, a lot of people don't factor in innovation. So when we were when we had horse and buggies riding around the streets, there was a poop problem. And they were like, with our projections, in the next 3 years, we're going to be covered in poop everywhere. It's going to be all over the street. And then something happened and there was no more poop in the street. Do you know what that something was?
I would assume it was the creation of the automobile.
There you go. Boom. Innovation. When people think about all these numbers and make predictions, you can't account for innovation.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that something like this could and will just change any trajectory that people were predicting, dude.
And I think, like, for clarity, like, what really puts it in perspective is like this shit in the street issue was 150 years ago. literally like 2 grandparents ago. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a long time, dude. And, here we are going to Mars. It's a different time.
Different time.
Very interesting. And I think that this also could have massive implications for space travel, which is really personally very exciting. I think it's a really cool, fascinating topic and something that I'd like to see humanity continue to explore. Yeah, definitely stoked to see like what they can do with this material.
Okay. So we got space travel.
Yeah.
So
Not solving any of the world's problems today, but I think it is important for humanity to continue to press forwards, not at the expense of fixing or improving what exists here on Earth, because I think that's a big piece of criticism that space exploration gets. Because I think, there are people who do it from a sense of vanity more so than exploration. I think that gives it a bad, that leaves a poor taste in a lot of people's mouth. But, I think like people are naturally curious and, not to go too deep or philosophical here, but
bring it on, dude.
time on Earth is very limited. And I think that the real value that we all come to like realize or know ourselves is like pressing the envelope of like what is possible of ourselves, right? And figuring out what that limit is and like how can we continue to improve and explore and experience just as much as we possibly can in that time. And I think that it's only natural that technology continues to advance with that, because that's going to be a very interesting area for a lot of people, right? Like they're going to carry that over into tech and into space. And I think it gives a good example for human beings to push themselves, right? I think it's very inspirational, and it is easy to take that and translate that into being a better version of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that shit, dude.
Yeah. So I think like space exploration, while it may seem trivial to some people, I actually think it's a lot more important in like human day to day than a lot of people would give it credit for.
I also would agree with you. What would you go if you had the opportunity? Would you go to space?
It depends on like depends on the time period, I think.
Currently, then we'll expand on what you're talking about. But currently,
No, I mean like time spent there. Would I go and like I lose like 2 weeks of my life, or what are we talking?
I respect the constraints. We're talking. Yeah, give it 2 weeks. Is that possible?
I mean, probably not from like a training perspective. Or it would just really depend on like the kind of like if you're just trying to go up into like outer, like actually into space beyond atmosphere,
Yeah.
and then come back. I think you bust that out in like a few days, not
Okay.
even.
All right.
But like then on top of that, add the training and then knowing what you need to know.
No,
Are you going with like capable people?
I
Are
understand
you
what you're
basically
saying.
just taking a ride?
I'm not saying
You have
that.
to
I'm
do
not
something
asking you.
there.
I'm not asking you. Would you be an astronaut for 2 weeks? I'm asking you. Would you hop on? I guess.
Oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Right now, currently in your life.
Give me up there.
Okay, I like that. All right. I'd have to put a few more constraints on if I would or not right now.
Okay.
So I went skydiving the other day.
How was that?
It was absolutely awesome.
You know what's funny?
What?
Ain't no shot I'm going skydiving.
What the what? You don't make
No
sense,
way.
dude.
It's,
You just said you would go to space.
right in an aircraft. It's like that's like basically the same thing as just like taking a flight.
Skydive? Oh, going up in an aircraft?
Yeah.
I mean,
If I leave Atmo, I don't leave Atmo. It is what it is, right? But like skydiving is you are departing from the craft, my friend. I'm not trying to go for a spacewalk. You know what I mean?
That was nice.
I'm not trying to get tethered and go out into space. I pass on that part.
I get so much anxiety when I think about someone doing a spacewalk.
Yeah, it's not good. It's very isolating.
What happens if the cord gets cut?
Bro, I hear you.
Dude.
I think you're just debris then. I think you're just part of space.
You're
now.
instantly no longer a person. You're just debris.
Yeah,
A lot of
just debris.
respect. Lot of respect for those guys and girls that do that. I appreciate your
crazy.
service.
Does that check out? Do you understand more so about like staying in the craft versus leaving?
Nah, dude. I'm actually. I don't think I would do space right now. Even if it's in one of those spaceships that you're talking about.
I think it's just also just like a part of like an experience perspective. I don't personally think I would get a whole lot out of skydiving. I think I would get way more out of going to space personally, based on like just interest level. Like I'm not an adrenaline junkie kind of guy. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me.
All right. I
like to drive, like a race car, like I'll drive the car around Daytona, which I've done and it's cool.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff like that. I'm cool to do that, but it's not something I really like seek. You know what I mean?
Okay. Understood. So you'd go up into space. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
That's answered.
Okay. All right.
And then I think the last thing was we could end on this little ticket here. Since we're talking about the extreme adventuring, there was something brought up about the OceanGate thing. Rest in peace to those guys. And I know this happened a little while ago. I see something about here, something on here with Logitech. Was the controller actually Logitech? Was that proved? I know it looked like it.
Yeah.
It was actually
a
proved.
Logitech controller. Yeah.
Was it though? Because on Amazon, every product is basically the same, and they just put different names on it. So
I believe it was confirmed in a video of how the sub operated. That the the OceanGate CEO, I don't know, former, I don't know what you say, but he did a walkthrough of the sub and its operation, and I believe it was actually a Logitech controller.
So I saw that video, and maybe we could verify this another time. When I saw that video, there was no logo on the controller, which is, I don't know, we're not arguing whether the sub should be controlled by a controller or not. I'm just wondering if it was actually verified that it was a Logitech controller. Because I see here that you told us that Logitech stock plummeted.
So well, here's
Daily
just really
Mail.
quickly.
Okay.
It looks like, according to this article, Daily Mail, verified the source or not, it was a Logitech F710 gamepad.
Where's that picture? Where's that? All right, zoom in on that.
All right.
I think I do see the Logitech logo. Keep going. Keep going.
Enhance.
I mean, I kind of do.
Yeah, that's there.
Is that it right there?
I see it. Yeah.
All right.
And they as a result of the ongoing search effort for the sub and the and which led to the implosion, Logitech was essentially, not only was it bombarded with awful reviews about the controller itself and gags, but the stock had plummeted during that fiasco as a result of.
I gotta assume that the Logitech was not the failure point of the submarine.
That's also what I think.
I gotta assume
also
that it's probably from what I hear and like what I've heard about the way that thing was built and like certain precautions were not taken. I think the Logitech might have been the best part of the whole thing. I don't know, dude.
And you used to talk crap about Logitech too.
There's also,
I don't buy this,
some theories.
Go ahead.
Okay, now
show us.
This is a fact check. Now it says fact check. There was no actual fact check in this article.
Of course.
But there seems to be images that denote
enhance.
The controller survived.
I don't buy this.
If anything, this just proves the durability.
That's good. That's good. That should be good for stock.
Scroll down. Go play the video.
I've had some Logitech hardware. That thing
look
takes
at
a beating.
Look at this. You can barely see what it is. It looks like two seashells. But hold on. We're gonna show you a cropped in square. Now look how it's obviously a controller. Get the frig out of here, dude. And where were you just scuba diving off the coast? Where's this video coming from? The frig out of here.
You're not buying it, huh?
I believe that's courtesy of the Titanic is where that video is coming from.
No way, dude. No way.
Well, the only negative things I ever had to say about Logitech was its software that it makes for its like C920s is absolutely horrifying.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
But not only the software
gore for sure.
When I plugged that webcam in, which I used to use as well, it would like disconnect and stuff. And I don't think that had to do with the webcam software. That was like driver stuff.
Yeah, but you listen, you're newer to the internet. I'd be telling people. You've had your fair share of tech issues. I do currently run 2 Logitech cameras as side cameras, and they always work. And I've had them for many, many years. One was my very first ever stream cam. Then I had an upgraded one when they came out with like the C930E. It's like better res. I have that. I use them both still plugged into my setup at all times, and I swap between them seamlessly for studio cam and also dog cam. I got to give them love, man. I've been doing this like 8 years. That's not bad longevity.
What I'm hearing then is the consensus is that Logitech, okay for content creation, maybe not the best choice if you're trying to explore the Titanic.
That's a good takeaway. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. What a wonderful chat.
Absolutely.
This is awesome. I love talking about this stuff, dude. So what's coming? What's coming for you? What do we got? What do we got in the pipeline?
For me, it's more dark and darker this week. Very much so looking forward to diving in more. Only got 1 day under my belt with the new launch. So got a lot of work to do, but it's exciting work. It's fun work. And I'm happy to do it. Fortunate to do it. Looking like a little teased subathon at the end of the month that I'm really looking forward to. Maybe it goes 1 day, maybe it goes 2 days, maybe it goes 7 weeks. Time will tell. And the only reason that there's a constraint on it is because we have TwitchCon Las Vegas, TwitchCon NA. That obviously will be a very nice time, a great working opportunity, and a nice opportunity to hang out with some of our community members and fans in person. So that's what it's looking like for me. What about you?
Well, tomorrow we're pitching a client on a $20,000 service, so I'm excited about that.
That is exciting.
We've been actually doing a lot of Unreal Engine stuff that they're working on right now.
Yeah.
I love that stuff, dude. I
It's
freaking
nice.
love that stuff. I have
You're
a
getting
new
nice with it, I gotta say.
I appreciate that. I have a new service that I am concepting in my mind right now with how to package it to go into a business and say, imagine this.
Right.
And it could be, I'm very excited about it. I just have to kind of work it out a little bit, but I'm very excited about it.
That's why the stuff that you produce ends up looking so nice, because you take the time, you process it out, figure out what's replicable, and then you pitch it.
Appreciate it.
Which is nice.
Abe, how about you, dude?
I am just gonna keep on keeping on, living life, tuning into the stream. I'll be playing Dark and Darker too.
Oh yeah.
Just not in front of an audience.
No. We're gonna get Abe in for a sesh in the coming days for sure.
I'll put my skills on display then.
Yeah. For better or for worse, it's good content.
And where is that? Where can they find you?
Abe?
Oh, they can find me, I'm sorry, at twitch.tv/Markstrom. You can find me at Aberman89 there. I am going to be moderating your channels and jumping into some gameplay, it sounds like.
Good stuff.
Nice.
Good stuff. All right. Well, boys, I believe that wraps it for everyone listening and watching. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. We're excited to do more, and we will catch you next time. Peace.
Y'all have a good week. Later.